Welcome to Forde-Yard Dash, the video version. I'm Pat Forde, and it's October, and we're starting to see the top 5 preseason fall apart completely. Some pretty stunning turns of events. 3 of the top 5 in the AP preseason poll are in dire straits. Texas lost to Florida. Now 2 losses on the season. Still has not beaten a power conference opponent. Penn State still has not beaten a power conference opponent and took an unbelievable loss to previously winless UCLA. And Clemson, we already knew about. They've not just lost twice, they've lost 3 times. And their only power conference win is against North Carolina. And does that really count? We'll get to that in a little bit later here. But pretty strange times for those 3 schools, all of which came into the season with very high hopes. And is there a way back into playoff contention? Can they salvage what they were hoping to have this year? To varying degrees, yes and no. Texas probably has the best path back because one of their losses at Ohio State is a non-conference loss, so that means they just have the one SEC defeat at this point. Obviously, they have to play much better. Their offense is not good. Their offensive line is not good. Arch Manning is not good. Their running backs are not good. So there's a lot they need to fix. And guess what? They have to play the number 1 defense in the country this week in Oklahoma. But they do have a way back, at least statistically. You win your games, you get to the SEC championship, things can happen. Penn State up against it now, 2 Big Ten losses. And that might be one too many to even get into a Big Ten championship game. They will need a lot of help, and it also means, yes, they would have to beat Ohio State and Columbus, and they never beat Ohio State anywhere. So very difficult situation for the Nittany Lions. Clemson also in a difficult position, 2 league losses there. And I think the ACC, it's possible that the 2 teams that make it to the ACC championship game have 1 or fewer losses. So I think there's a real chance we are looking at a playoff that has none of the 3 teams that I mentioned, all of which were top 5 before the year. We'll see how it all plays out, but a lot of unhappy fan bases in those areas. Dash second quarter. Let's take a walk on the wild side here. There's going to be a lot of movement on the coaching carousel this year. There already has been. We've had 4 power conference jobs open, but things could really get interesting. And I kind of played a what-if scenario in the column this week about how wild it can get. So buckle up and follow along with me here. Let's start with this. Kalani Sitake, who's done really good work at BYU, is wooed to Los Angeles to coach UCLA. That opens up, obviously, BYU, who's an alum there and maybe is catching some unprecedented heat that he hadn't gotten before in his current job. Steve Sarkisian at Texas. If this season continues to go poorly, what if Sark says, you know what? I'm bailing. I'm going back to the alma mater. Let's see what we can do there. A little less pressure. That would open up Texas, one of the absolute premier jobs. And that would be time to call Lane Kiffin for Chris Del Conte. He leaves Mississippi and goes to Austin. What does Mississippi do? They reach out to James Franklin, who needs to get out of State College, Pennsylvania. Franklin could have a lot of options this offseason. I don't know whether Ole Miss is a perfect fit from his standpoint or from the school's standpoint, but if he's out there and you have a vacancy, call the man. Let's say he goes. Now, a lot of Penn State fans would want Curt Cignetti, a Pennsylvania guy. But let's, for fun, say Matt Rule, also a Penn Stater, gets that job, and that opens Nebraska. What do the Cornhuskers do? They look a little bit southeast and go get Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri. Drink would probably like to go to Florida if it opens, but hang with me there. Let's say Drinkwitz ends up at Nebraska. What does Missouri do? Their athletic director, Laird Veach, came from Memphis, where he hired Ryan Silverfield, who's doing great work there. He moves up from Memphis to Mizzou as well. And then when Memphis fills a vacancy with Hugh Freeze, who needs to get out of Auburn. and he's from around that area. Did good work, obviously, at Ole Miss. And there's your carousel to that point, but there's more. There's always more. Rhett Lashley leaves SMU to go to Arkansas. We know Arkansas is already open. SMU takes some swings at some high money people, but ends up with Shannon Dawson, offensive coordinator at Miami, who's doing a great job. The last offensive coordinator they hired worked out awfully well. That was Rhett Lashley. John Sumrall leaves Tulane for North Carolina, which opens because Belichick realizes he made a terrible mistake by going and trying to coach college football at age 73. And Mark Stoops, who's been on the hot seat at Kentucky, but hard to fire because of the size of his buyout, says, I'll make it easy on everybody. I will go become the defensive coordinator at Ohio State after Matt Patricia goes back to the NFL. And Will Stein, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, who is from Louisville, Kentucky, goes back to his home state to coach the Wildcats. Now, what's the one thing I left out of those scenarios? That's right, Florida, which everybody has fired Billy Napier every September since he's been there. But turn things around with that big win over Texas. And what if he keeps it turned around? What if the Gators keep winning? What if they get to 9-3, possibly even make the SEC championship game? Can you fire him then after everybody's been firing him all season? We'll see. Obviously, many contingencies there. Take those in the spirit they were given. We'll see what happens. Dash third quarter. Let's take a look at some coaches in their first years and decide how they're doing. There's a clear winner for worst job so far. You know who it is. Chapel Bill. Oh my, it is bad in North Carolina. They have been routed in all 3 games against power conference competition. Most recently getting absolutely blown out immediately by Clemson, gave up 28 points in the first quarter there. It's pretty clear now that the amount of hubris and lack of knowledge Belichick and his cronies brought with them to Chapel Hill has come home to roost. They thought apparently that they could put together a Sun Belt level roster and be okay. Instead, it's performing like a Sun Belt level roster in a power conference. It's not been pretty. On the opposite end of the spectrum, guy who's doing the best job, I would say, is Dan Mullen at UNLV. From Chapel Bill to Vegas Dan. Mullen, who had been at Mississippi State, been at Florida, and had spent the last couple years as a TV analyst, took over Vegas, which was a program that Barry Odom had gotten up off the deck and done well there the last couple years, but most of the players were gone. He had to populate the roster, and they're off to a 5-0 start, their first 5-0 start since 1974 when they were a Division II program. Still not a great team, probably some defeats to come, but UNLV could find itself at least in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Jake Dickert at Wake Forest has done a really good job there. Tough program, tough situation, a little bit out of date when it comes to the modern way to build a roster, but he's put it together and gotten Wake Forest 3-2. Should be competitive the rest of the way in the ACC. And my favorite stat here, Casey Keeler, the 66-year-old coach at Temple who came from Sam Houston State. Before that, had coached in the Northeast. He's at Temple. Terrible job. But the 3-2 Owls are the only team in the nation that has not turned the ball over yet. And that is after that program turned it over 94 times in its previous 48 games. They went from the most careless team to the most fastidious one in the country, basically. Matt Entz at Fresno State doing a good job there. Came from North Dakota State, that North Dakota State pipeline. Championship pedigree. They're off to a 5-1 start. Odom doing the best he can at Purdue there. A little more competitive than last year's team. So they're 2-3 and have at least been around in the game for a while against USC, Notre Dame, and Illinois. Pretty tough competition. So on down the list it goes. The other ones who have not fared terribly well. Scott Frost at Central Florida, not off to a great start. And Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia. At least he won the backyard brawl. Nothing else has gone well. Lost to Ohio. Lost badly to Utah. has lost another game badly. So the Mountaineers are struggling in Rich Rod 2.0. So we'll keep an eye on how those situations go the second half of the season. Dash fourth quarter, and here's the proverbial, what if you were stranded on a desert island in a coma since 2023, and you came back this week to realize that Oregon and Indiana were playing a massive Big Ten game. You would be shocked to learn that Oregon is in the Big Ten. You would be shocked to learn that Indiana is any good at all. But here they are, both in the top 10, meeting in Autzen Stadium. Fascinating game. Winner moves up as the prime challenger to Ohio State in the Big Ten. And the loser by no means is out of playoff contention there. We've got two quarterbacks who actually have already played against each other for different teams in a different league. Fernando Mendoza was a redshirt freshman at California in 2023. Dante Moore was a true freshman at UCLA. They squared off then. Mendoza and the Bears got the better of it. We'll see what happens this time, as now they're both Heisman Trophy candidates. They've got a lot on the line personally in this game, in addition to the Big Ten race and playoff implications. So, fascinating game in Eugene. I will be there for that one, and I can't wait to see it. But there's a lot of other big games. Red River, Oklahoma, Texas. Boy, oh boy, has the complexion of that game changed. Oklahoma has played great, but probably without quarterback John Mateer. So they're going with Michael Hawkins, who last year as a true freshman was completely overwhelmed in that game. He's taken steps since then, and we're not sure whether Texas is as good. Arch Manning, boy, if there's ever a time to get it together, Arch, this would be it. But you are playing that number one defense in the country. That will be a big payload game. Alabama, Missouri, also in the SEC. This one's a sneaky one. Missouri still has not played a road game. This is their sixth straight at home, and I think the trap is laid for them against the Crimson Tide. Alabama will be playing its third straight ranked opponent in 3 weeks. Mizzou coming off an open date and at home. Look out, Crimson Tide. The Tigers have you where they want you. Then Michigan, USC, a big, splashy, big brand game Saturday night in the Coliseum. Winner of that moves, I think, forward in the playoff race. Loser is up against it. We will see what happens there. Good battle of running backs. Justice Haynes for the Wolverines, Wayman Jordan for the Trojans. And in the Big 12, Arizona State, Utah. Another one where both teams have one loss. Utah's is in the league. Arizona State's is out of the league. But the winner is definitely in good position in the Big 12 race. The loser, not so good. So a lot to watch from basically noon until late at night Saturday. Some big, big games. We'll see how they all turn out.